It matters not who you love, where you love, why you love, when you love, or how you love. It matters only that you love. John Lennon. This is Get Real with Shameeza, and I'm your hostess, Shameeza Ali. Good evening to everyone joining us on YouTube, Facebook, Island Zone Radio, and on NTN Channel 69 in Georgetown, Guyana. Tonight we are observing Pride Month, and we will speak to Mohamed Amin and Ramdat Singh. But first, let's do a giveaway. Our giveaway is compliments of Bidesi Caribbean food specialist, and here is your chance to win that special box. Last week on Get Real with Shamisa, we had several well wishers. Name three of them. Again, the question is last week on Get Real with Shamisa, we had several well wishers. Name three of them. While you do that, here is a message from our sponsors.
Hibiscus has been a flagship restaurant in our community for a very long time. Come dine with us and enjoy our excellent food, drinks and service at any one of our many locations. We are located on 12418 101 Avenue and 22113 Jamaica Avenue. Hibiscus at Elliott's on the Mile in Freeport is one of our newest locations, along with 12402 Rockaway Boulevard. In Guyana at 91 Middle Street, Georgetown. Bring your family and friends and come visit us soon.
If there's one place that makes hair removal a pleasant experience, it's the Sugar Bar NYC. Specializing in the art of body sugaring, utilizing a sugar gel for the most gentle, organic hair removal. Our method of hair removal is all natural. The paste is just sugar, lemon, and water. We also have specialized in acne, scarring and hyperpigmentation treatments. We provide sugaring services, waxing services, and laser hair removal services. We also provide body contouring services, Botox and fillers.
Enos Driving School offers training for CDL licenses, including tractor trailers, trucks, and school buses. Just think, with a CDL license, you can have access to thousands of driving jobs at large companies such as FedEx, UPS, MTA, or New York Sanitation. Enos Driving School also offers defensive driving courses and training classes for cars and motorcycles, all taught by their college-trained instructors who can even schedule your road test appointments. Inquire about other driving and training packages as well. You might even be qualified for their free CDL training, as they are a certified institution with the New York State Workforce One program. Call Enos Driving School today. They've been serving our community for over 10 years.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome my guest for tonight, the founder and executive director of the Caribbean Equality Project, Mohamed Q. Amin, and New York State Assembly leader, and he's also Assembly leader for District 81, Ramdat Singh.
Hi, Shameeza. Happy Pride Month. Thank you for having us on again this year.
Pleasure having you both this evening. And I'm sorry I didn't get the memo that I had to get all dressed up. But you guys look amazing. Thank you so much for being here. Where are you guys joining us from? Because I see buildings in the background look like it's somewhere in Manhattan.
Well, we're joining you from the Metropolitan Museum in Manhattan. They had their first ever LGBTQ Pride reception, and Caribbean Equality Project was invited. So Ramdat and I are here showing up in our Indian garb, representing our Indo-Caribbean culture.
You guys look amazing. And thank you so much for, even though I know this is an important time for both of you, it's very historical. You've chosen to also share this time with me, and I thank you for that. So we will, for in respect to your time, we'll get right into it. Um, so let's get started, guys. With Mohammed. It's been a year since you were on Get Real with Shameeza. Tell us what Caribbean Equality Project has been up to.
You know, that's a very loaded question. We have been doing a lot of incredible work in New York City, but our work is expanding beyond New York City. Last year, I had the opportunity to go to Florida to do a little bit of organizing, particularly in South Florida. And one of the things we did towards the end of 2022, we organized our Caribbean Crossings Confronting Gendered and Racialized Violence conference, which was hosted in Little Caribbean in Brooklyn. It was a one-day conference recognizing 16 days of activism to end gender-based violence and Human Rights Day. And we have a video to show you how incredible that conference was. So if your producer could play that video, I would love to talk about it more afterwards.
Coming right up. He'll get that. And thank you everyone for joining us this evening. I see Anthony Prasad, Pinky, Ash, Nad, you guys, Sonia. Sonia, it was a beautiful song that we played at the beginning of the show, and it was your video. Thank you so much for letting us play that song. And we will get right to it in just a moment. Mo, what is the name of the video?
It's on the script. It's called Caribbean Crossings.
Caribbean Crossings. Okay, it's coming right up.
Awesome.
Welcome everyone to what we hope will be the first of many Caribbean Crossings Confronting Gendered and Racialized Violence, a one-day community conference recognizing 16 days of activism to end gender-based violence and Human Rights Day.
This is the first LGBTQ college-wide event at Medgar Evers College.
As an undocumented asylum seeker, I am proud to be a leader who works daily with fellow change makers at Caribbean Equality Project.
Enjoy your time here at Medgar. We open our doors to you. We roll out the red carpet to you.
We also need to reflect and understand why we are here today and what are the other forces in play.
TGNC people face a number of psychological dangers in healthcare settings in regards to their affirmation and acceptance.
People need to know who we are as people before you can make a judgment, before you can pass a bill, before you can deny us health services.
Again, that question of what forms us without our deep entanglement and sacred entanglement to Blackness in the Caribbean.
The right afforded for one is the right afforded for all, and therefore, if applied the very same way, we as individuals would not have to scream.
And we're New York and we deserve more.
There's no way that we are going to make any kind of systemic and cultural shifts in this country, in this world, if we're not doing that together.
Well, community care is seeing everybody, seeing everyone as the individual. You don't have to lose your individuality.
That's a quality that you'll see in transformational movements.
I just want to uplift the work, the tireless effort of organizers and advocates who aren't in this for the clout.
And I just want to say I'm very thankful to all of the work Caribbean Equality Project has done. I cannot thank you all enough.
God bless Caribbean Equality for doing this. God bless my agency and her agency, because this is people of color. This is not them. This is us. Taking care of us. And that needs to happen. We could do it all if we just support each other.
Thank you to everyone who worked tirelessly to create today's outstanding example of what we can do when we combine our talents at CUNY with the talents of our community.
On behalf of the Caribbean Equality Project and our entire leadership team and volunteer, thank you for being here today. Thank you for sharing your love and time with us. Share your reflections and highlights on social media with us using hashtag Caribbean Crossings. Good night, everyone!
Beautifully done, Mo. Tell us about that video.
Yeah, so Caribbean Crossings came about because we've been living within a pandemic for multiple years now. We have survived COVID, some of our family members didn't. But even within COVID 19, we saw a rise in anti-Asian hate. We saw a rise in anti-Blackness. We saw a rise in anti-LGBTQ hate violence. We also saw a rise in domestic violence, specifically within our Indo-Caribbean community. So we wanted to create a space where community members could talk about what these intersections mean as Caribbean people, as Caribbean LGBTQ people, Indo and Afro-Caribbean people. And what's unique about this conference, it was the first conference of its kind to be hosted in New York City. And we hosted it in Medgar Evers College in Little Caribbean, Brooklyn. And our keynote speaker was a dear friend of mine by the name of Kenita Placid, who came all the way from St. Lucia to be our keynote speaker at this conference. And we also welcomed our board member, Ryan Persati, from Toronto, Canada, and the amazing Kimora Amor, who was featured on Canada Drag Race. So these are all, it was an incredible transnational, international LGBTQ conference, and it was hosted right here in New York City in December of 2022.
Wow, amazing. Great work. I know you work effortlessly to make all these things happen. And, you know, we're very grateful for you, Mo, because I know you work very hard. We keep getting cut in and out with Ramdat. So we'll move on to our next question.
Sure.
Mo, Caribbean, a primary election is happening in New York City. Can you tell us what's going on and how people can vote?
Yeah, sure. So right now we are in a period of the New York City primary election. We are using ranked choice voting to vote this year, specifically for the city council candidates. And for folks who may not be familiar with what's happening in New York City, starting June 17th, which was last Saturday, up until June 25th, it's called early voting in New York City. You can vote for your council member, you can vote for a judicial judge, you can vote for a party candidate, you can also vote for a position that you see on the ballot. So what's unique about this is also for Queens, where we organize, and Shameeza, you're familiar with Queens, where Richmond Hill, because of redistricting, we have 3 new city council districts in Richmond Hill. District 28, District 29, and District 32. District 29 in particular has a large part, the southern part of Richmond Hill, which includes from Lefferts Boulevard and Liberty Avenue all the way north to the Atlantic Avenue to Jamaica Avenue. And this is quite significant for Richmond Hill because our community is divided into 3 city council districts. And District 29 has a large part of the Gurdwaras, the Mandir on Left Liberty in 118th Street, 119th Street, these are all within District 29. And many people may not know that they're in a new district. So right now, the primary election is happening across New York City among other offices, and they are 21 out of the 51 districts that have races, and District 29 in Richmond Hill is one of them. So for all of the eligible voters out there, if you are registered, particularly with a political party, please go out and vote. Early voting is happening now, and election day is Tuesday, June 27th. And I see my friend Ramdat is here. So we're going to go back to that question about Ramdat.
Yes.
And then we'll talk more about voting.
Yes. So Ramdat, in 2022, you were historically elected as a New York State District Leader. Tell us about the significance and your connection to Caribbean Equality Project.
Yeah, sorry, y'all. So Shameeza, thank you so much. Thank you for allowing me to join your program tonight. So in last year, I just wrapped up my first year as being a district leader, and we made history. Yeah, thank you so much. We made history last year by being the first queer in the Caribbean elected statewide. So I'm super excited. I may be the first, but I definitely won't be the last. And last, for Caribbean Equality Project, I used to serve as its Director of Civic Engagement, overseeing the Mash Up the Vote campaign, anything that goes along with it, phone banking, text banking, and just educating our communities about why they should participate in local elections. And now I serve on their board, supporting the organization and still maintaining some level of civic engagement and voter engagement with the organization till to this day.
Thank you. Mo, the Caribbean Equality Project recently unveiled a public art photography exhibition in Richmond Hill, Queens. Tell us about the Live Pridefully exhibition.
Thank you for that. So this Pride Month, we are telling our stories through public art. The Live Pridefully exhibition, Love and Resilience Within Pandemics, reimagines and affirms Afro and Indo-Caribbean, LGBTQ immigrants and asylum seekers as essential workers, creatives, and contributors to the cultural diversity of New York City. What's unique about this project is this historic interdisciplinary exhibition was originally presented at the Queens Museum from December 4th, 2021 to March 6, 2022 as part of the museum's Year of Uncertainty. And in 2022, it was reimagined into this beautiful photography exhibition, the first of its kind in the United States, shown at Brooklyn Bridge Park during the 2022 Photoville Festival. And now in 2023, Live Pridefully continues to make history by becoming the first public art exhibition installed by Photoville in Richmond Hill Park, Little Guyana. And for folks that may be wondering where in Little Guyana is this exhibition, well, it's at the Phil Russo Park, Smoky Park, the very park that we have all of our cultural celebration, the very park we have we end our Pagua Parade and we have our cultural program. And this exhibition features the stories of 7 incredible Caribbean LGBTQ immigrants from Guyana, Trinidad and Tobago, Jamaica, and Haiti. And I believe we have a highlight video to show your audience what it looks like in person.
Yes, we do.
Greetings and good afternoon, everyone. I just want to say that whoever's here today, whoever has paved the way for this hard work, just know that we are the beautiful sacrifices that our ancestors have made. This shows a clear message about the power of visibility. Om Shantihi, 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 Om. May peace, power, and the divine light of truth be upon all of us.
The Caribbean Equality Project's Live Pridefully, Love and Resilience Within Pandemic exhibition reimagines and affirms Afro and Indo-Caribbean LGBTQ immigrants and asylum seekers as essential workers, creatives, and contributors to the cultural diversity of New York City by highlighting the work of 7 activists and community members: Rajiv Mahabir, Queen Jean, Rohan, Darren J. Glenn, Tanuja Rosario, Theo Brown, and Tiffany Jade Monroe. And this exhibition also has a QR code that many of you might have seen. And if you scan that QR code, it takes you to their oral histories that you can listen to their stories in their own words.
Today is such an exciting moment and day, and just represents one of the ways that we celebrate each other and celebrate us. And I'm so excited to be part of this exhibit and to be here with all of you today. And I'm so honored to be featured and having my story heard.
Being asked to be a part of this exhibit has been the most amazing thing in my life. Could you imagine a girl that just moved here from New York City in 2019, and then in 2021, I was like a part of an entire exhibit that was curated by Mohamed Amin. Thank you so much.
We thank you. We think it's really important to keep amplifying work like this, and we hope that this is not the last. We'd love to keep working with you, and we love our relationship and partnership with the Queen's Museum.
Showing up here and showing up with love and joy is really what's at the heart of this exhibition.
What I love about the vision of this exhibition is that Mohamed really shows the world what we can do if we're allowed to thrive. This exhibition shows us that when queer Caribbean people and trans Caribbean people are allowed to thrive, we can do so much to make this world a better place.
So the one piece that we have here, Queering the Mokajumbi, which is super exciting to see when it's all in its full glory, so we'll have to settle for the picture right now. Queering the Mokajumbi sort of gives life to all these sort of interconnections that move through race, gender, sexuality, class, and spirit.
This is our most important park in this neighborhood. And I can already see kids lining up behind here to learn more. And this is one way we can continue to break taboos. This is one way, by having it in this space, that we can continue to push boundaries in this neighborhood.
This isn't the type of work that you do and you'll be like, oh, well, I'ma just do this over here and do a little work over there. And you don't have to take my picture. Don't, please, I'm not trying to be out. No, it requires you to live pridefully. This work will out you. So here I am, out and proud on the streets of Queens. Mash up the board, represent yourself, stay safe, stay healthy, and live well. Live pridefully.
So I'm loving that these stories are helping really not only elevate us as queer folk, but also helping healing people of misunderstandings about our community.
Living pridefully is being able to have agency over our bodies. Living pridefully is about care, not cuts to our schools, libraries, and resources that truly heal our community. My hope and my wish for all of us is that we never bend to oppression. We rise up and we fight. We rise up and we live pridefully, no matter what, no matter where.
We don't see skin, we don't see color, we see strength, we see power, we don't see race, one or the other, one see is freedom, and the self is my brother.
Many of you here today have supported my advocacy and creative space for my voice when no one else would. I stand before you as the embodiment of my ancestors' defiance, resilience, and strength. Today, I live pridefully.
Thank you. Energy. I'm energy.
Beautifully done, Mo. That was amazing. Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, so, Live Pridefully is so dear to my heart. I wanted to tell Caribbean LGBTQ stories. And growing up in New York City, growing up in Richmond Hill, I never imagined being able to tell LGBTQ stories and have it available at Smoky Park. Can you imagine LGBTQ
Yeah.
people walking around Smoky Park, seeing people like them being reflected in the park? And, I said something in that video that also resonates with this program. You are probably one of the first TV program to create a space for Caribbean Equality Project consistently. This is the third time that we are on your
Third year.
program. Third year we're on your
Yeah.
program. And it takes a lot of courage and strength to do that, because I remember the last time I was on your program, I received so much backlash, all these really hateful comments that I got from people in Guyana, from people in New York. And I keep showing up to this program because LGBTQ people matters, our lives matter, our struggles matter. And what we are seeing now, we're seeing over 600 anti-LGBTQ bills have been proposed in the US alone. Over 18, over 80 of them has already been passed in 18 different states. In New York State alone,
Right.
about a month ago, we had our first anti-trans bill that was introduced. Imagine the state that we live in.
That's
Excuse me, the state that we live
yes.
in, where trans people cannot access here. But here at Caribbean Equality Project, we are resisting and we are fighting back, just like we're fighting back in the Caribbean. And I know this program reaches so many people in Guyana. I'm so proud to be Guyanese. I'm so proud to be Indo Caribbean. And I know that when I lived in Guyana, I didn't see someone like myself represented on TV advocating for LGBTQ voices. And to all the queer Guyanese kids, trans Guyanese kids that are watching this program, just know you're not alone. And there are people like me and Ramdat that exist, and we love you, and we can't wait to meet all of you. Your life matters. Continue fighting.
Yes. Agreed. Agreed. Speaking about the Caribbean Equality Project, Mo, I know that you played a critical role in advocating for keeping Richmond Hill and South Ozone Park united. Can you tell us why?
Yeah. Oh my God. So this is a good question. So, redistricting has been on the top of the list for of our advocacy for 3 years now. When we started our redistricting advocacy, Richmond Hill was divided into 7 assembly districts. Imagine 7. Little Richmond Hill, Little Ozone Park, and South Ozone Park divided among
Seven.
7 assembly districts. And people may ask, why is this such an issue? The reason is, think about 2021 when COVID started. In particularly October, November, and December of 2020, Richmond Hill had the highest COVID 19 positivity rate. I remember coming on Facebook and I used to see so many death announcements. I used to see so many funerals happening. And our community members also have to ask themselves, why is this happening? The reason for that is our people didn't have access to COVID 19 resources. We didn't have access to vaccination. We didn't have access to testing. And it was organizations like Caribbean Equality Project, organizers like Richard David and Aminta Kilawan from South Queens Women's March. We were the ones on the ground protecting our community, advocating for these resources. We were the one to make sure that the Lefferts Library at the corner of Liberty and Lefferts became a testing site. I remember seeing so many people going to that library, the Queen's Library, to get tested. And then eventually it became a vaccination site. We started doing food insecurity work. We started to organize pantries because our people lost their jobs. And you and I both know that Richmond Hill has a large immigrant population. We have a large green card holder population. We have a large undocumented population. And when many of our community members lost their jobs, they had no source of income. They didn't qualify for a stimulus check. They didn't get any support from government. There was no unemployment benefits for them. They were just trapped at home, like many of us were, without any source of income to figure out how to live and survive. And redistricting played a critical role in that process because our elected officials did not fight to keep Richmond Hill together. And that's why Caribbean Equality Project, myself, Ramdat, and so many different organizations got involved in the redistricting process because we are a community of interest and we share Richmond Hill with our um, with our South Asian communities, our Sikh communities, right? And a community of interest is a group of people that share commonalities. And for 3 decades, Richmond Hill has been divided. This work started 3 decades ago. I am new to it. I am building on the legacies of those that came before me, but we're also making sure that the fight to keep Richmond Hill together continues beyond this generation of advocates. So why is this important? Right now, we have an election, a city council election in Richmond Hill, even though we advocated for Richmond Hill to be kept together at the state level and at the city council level, they still divided us. Currently, we are divided among four different assembly members. We went from 7 assembly members to now 4 assembly members. When we started the redistricting cycle, particularly for the New York City redistricting process, we had 3 city council districts. In February of 2023, we were the most dominated group at the hearing at your college. Over 80% of the people in the room were from Richmond Hill. And the Caribbean Equality Project worked with APA Voice, the APA Voice Redistricting Task Force. We worked with organizations like South Queens Women's March, Chaya, Drum, and so many different community partners to not only mobilize people to come and testify, but we also hosted town halls to educate people on what is redistricting. And because of that, we thought that for the first time in history, we were going to get an assembly district that keeps us together. And we ended up didn't. They took it away from us. They drew a draft to keep Richmond Hill together. And then at the last negotiation moment, behind closed doors, they took that district away from us. And we also saw the same thing happen at the city council level. We still have 3 city council members: District 28, District 29, and District 32. So when we think about redistricting and we think about how it's important and why it matters, if we are divided as a community, it means that our resources are diluted. It means that our political vote and our voice are diluted, and it means that when we experience a crisis like COVID-19, we are not getting the necessary resources we need to survive and thrive and to protect and love each other. So this particular city council cycle is incredibly important. We need to make sure we go out and vote. There's a misconception that people in Richmond Hill don't vote, right? And at Caribbean Equality Project, we started what is now known as Little Guyana Votes. This is part of our Mash Up the Vote campaign, which is a nonpartisan, culturally responsive voter education campaign. And just last Friday, we were at the corner of Liberty Avenue and Lefferts Boulevard, which has been renamed Little Guyana Avenue, educating voters on their voting rights, giving out voter resources, and making sure that people know that there's an election happening. It's important to vote if we're going to build political power in New York City. It has to start with us showing up at the polls and exercising our voting rights. And these are some of the photos from the recent event, the recent Little Guyana Votes event we did in Richmond Hill, where we work with our South Asian community or Indo-Caribbean community to bring resources to Richmond Hill to make sure that people know that Little Guyana votes and our voice matters, and we're going to continue to show up to make sure that our community members get the information they need to make informed decisions at the ballot.
Very nice. Now, these primary elections, they will use a process called ranked choice voting. What is ranked choice voting?
Yeah, so ranked choice voting is just an opportunity to rank 1 to 5 of the candidates. Ranked choice voting would only be used for primary elections that have more than 3 candidates running, right? So you get to rank 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So think of me when I go to Sybil's, right? And I go to Sybil's all the time to buy pastries and so on and so forth, right? So when I go, I prefer to buy Sybil's pine tarts. And if Sybil's don't have pine tarts, then I go and I'm like, okay, I'll get cheese roll now, right? And if they don't have cheese,
Ramdat is breaking up. So ranked choice voting is a process where you rank candidates, and no matter your favorite candidates, if they don't make the process, if they get eliminated, you can still rank your second best candidate. So the example that Ramdat was giving, for example, Shameeza, Ramdat, and I, when we live in Queens, right? If we want the best pint art, we know where that is, right? We go to Civils, right? But that line is long. When we get to Civils, we try to make sure um, what do we want to get. So sometimes we buy pine tart, we buy the cheese roll, we buy the black eye cake, we buy some cone, and maybe we buy a tennis roll and cheese. So, but we have to rank which one is our preference. For me, my preference is buying a pine tart. Shamiza, if you buy Caribbean pastries, what is your preference?
I will go with pine tart as well.
So you and I both love pine tart. Ramdat, if you go to a Guyanese or Caribbean bakery, what is your preference for Caribbean pastries? So Ramdat is having issues. So the goal of this is to select your favorite, right? And since you and I both voted for Pine
Oh,
Tart, it means that Pine Tart will be the favorite. So think of this as voting for a candidate without
got
just
it.
having to select one candidate. You can select multiple candidates. All you have to do is rank them in order of your preference. And then when all the votes are counted,
Oh,
the candidate
got
with the
it.
most votes, 50% plus one votes, that's going to be the candidate that moves
Yes.
on to the general election in November.
I'm gonna also add that it's important to rank your candidates, just in case. Let's say Mohamed is running for office, and we only voted for Mohamed, right? And let's say Mohamed is eliminated, my vote didn't count for anybody, right? So that's why it's important to rank your candidates as well, as like the second and third candidate will now,
The video.
or your vote will still be counted in the outcome of that election as well.
And we actually have a video that we can show to
Yes.
really have anyone that's not understanding it understand really what we mean.
There's a new way for New Yorkers to have their say in city elections. A way that gives voters more choices and can lead to more diverse winners. It's called ranked choice voting. 74% of New York voters chose to use it in primary and special elections for city offices: mayor, public advocate, comptroller, borough president, and city council. You won't see ranked choice voting in general elections or elections for state or national offices. But in ranked choice voting elections, you can now rank up to 5 of your favorite candidates for each office. Here's how ranked choice voting works. On your ballot, you'll see candidates listed in rows and numbered rankings in columns. Pick your first choice and completely fill in the oval next to their name under the first column. Like always, you can just vote for your one favorite candidate and submit your ballot. But you might like several people. If you have a second choice, fill in the oval next to their name under the second column. Do the same thing for your third, fourth, and fifth choices if you have them. A few don'ts. Don't rank the same candidate more than once. It won't help them, and it takes away your chance to rank the others who are running. Don't give the same rank to multiple candidates. It could disqualify your ballot. Don't worry. This is a new process, and you can always ask a poll worker for help, or for a new ballot if you make a mistake. So, how do ballots get counted with ranked choice voting? If one candidate gets more than 50% of everyone's first choice votes, they win the election right away. That's it. If no candidate gets more than 50%, ballots will be counted in rounds. Round by round, the candidate with the fewest votes is eliminated. So, if your top-rated candidate is eliminated, your vote goes to your next highest choice. This keeps going until only 2 candidates remain. The person with the most votes wins. Ranked choice voting is already popular in many cities around the country because voters find that it helps more voices be heard. Now it's our turn. Get answers to your questions and learn more at nyccfb.info/RCV.
That's a really cool video. I mean, if you can't understand that, then I really can't help you, because our analogy about face trace is pretty cool, but I really like their video as well, right? It really, with both of those, if we can't really understand how it works, then I don't know how we're
So
going to be able to get through this, but that was pretty cool. Ramdat?
I think it's important to the main message here, to be honest, Shameeza, and to all the folks that lives in New York City, the main message is to go vote. When you get to the ballot, look at your ballot. If you know your favorite candidate, rank your favorite candidate number 1. And then everyone else, rank them in the order of preference. And if you don't like any of the other candidates, don't rank them. But if you take away one message from today, is go vote. Your vote matters. And in order for us to build political power, we have to start voting more. We already do. We just have to vote more and more often.
I agree. Ramdat?
Yeah, so for just to go back a little about the ranked choice voting, I live in the Bronx and Mohammed lives in Queens, right? And there's some races that won't use ranked choice voting, such as district attorney and judges, but the city council races will. So just for city council, district attorney and judges, you'll just vote for one person. And just to piggyback on Mohammed, I think everybody should vote, right? Everybody's we hear sometimes that people say we don't do politics, but politics is all around you, right? From the fact that your pothole isn't fixed, or the fact that a school is not funded properly, or immigration policy, all this is politics. And this is all that impacts us, our daily life. And if we're not voting, we're not electing people that will have our best interests at heart and push policies and fix your pothole or fund your school properly. So I say, make sure you go out and vote with pride.
Agreed. And Mo?
Yeah, I think
What's your final thoughts on this?
when it comes to voting, we live in New York City. Our budget in New York City is over $90 billion. Like billion with a B, right? $90 billion. That's our New York City budget. And within the budget, there's all of these important factors that goes into it: transportation, education, funding for libraries, funding for immigration services, funding for our local neighborhoods, right? Like Ramdat said, particularly when it comes to transportation and the Department of Sanitation, and even for nonprofit organizations like Caribbean Equality Project. You know, I was watching a program you had last week, and you were talking about nonprofit work, and that resonated with me
Yeah.
because when I started Caribbean Equality Project in 2015, I didn't imagine being able to work for a nonprofit. You know, today I'm so proud that I'm able to work for an organization that I founded. I'm able to do community organizing. The work that I do with Caribbean Equality Project, I don't look at it as charity. I look at it as solidarity, because our work is not just about serving Caribbean LGBTQ people. It's about serving our entire Caribbean diaspora population in New York City. We do civic engagement work through our Mash Up the Vote campaign. We register people to vote. We educate people on how to vote. We organize food pantries in our community. We provide COVID 19 resources, but we also serve our Caribbean LGBTQ people. And oftentimes within our community culture, we look at nonprofit work as less than, right? We look at nonprofit work as charity. And nonprofit work doesn't have to be charity. It could be your passion. It could be what gives you joy and what brings you joy. It could be the work that for the past 3 years kept our community safe, right? Kept our community protected. And I remember being on the streets of Richmond Hill. I didn't see elected officials, right? I saw community organizers like myself and so many others on the streets of Richmond Hill, keeping our community members safe. So, and I just really wanted to say that, to stand with you in solidarity as you figure out your nonprofit, as you figure out the work that you do, and to just let you know that, it takes really courageous people to say that I'm gonna do nonprofit organizing and be an organizer when we live in a community when people are so quick to just tear you down. If you are rising, people are so quick to tear you down. And I know what that feels like as a queer, Indo Caribbean, gay person. Like, I've never had a seat at the table. I've always had to fight to have a seat at the table. And even today in Richmond Hill, people do not include my voice. They do not include Caribbean Equality Project. When people think of Guyanese representation, they don't think of me. They don't think of Ramdat, right? They think of everyone else. But our voice also matters in this conversation. Um, and the one thing I'll say about this is, for the past 2 years, uh, organizers in Richmond Hill have been raising a pride flag right in front of Sybil's. When you come in, you see it, and they have not included Caribbean Equality Project. They have not included our voice in what that pride flag should look like. They have not included so many queer artists, Guyanese artists that could perform. Ramdat Singh just got elected as the first queer Indo-Caribbean Hindu elected person in New York State, and Ramdat wasn't even invited to be a part of that pride flag raising ceremony. And this is what performativity looks like in Richmond Hill. And the people that are organizing these sort of performative events, they only do it for recognition. They do it because they're trying to build a political agenda with elected officials, and they know who they are. But for people like me and people like Ramdat, we're going to continue to show up. We're going to continue to fight. We're going to continue to speak out. And if there's one thing that people are not going to be able to do in Richmond Hill anymore, is silent LGBTQ people, because we are here to stay and we are not going anywhere.
Beautifully said. Mohammed, two things I do want to mention. I feel our battle is the same way you're looking to have a seat at the table, and you feel excluded. As a woman, I feel the same way. My integrity and what I do is questioned as to, how did she just get here 2 years ago and she's there? Why do people believe in her so much? And again, I say to those people, respect is earned, and the battle continues, and I'll continue to fight this battle as long as I can, because I deserve to be where I am, and I will
That's right.
continue to be here and keep moving up. The other thing is that you were actually, I mean, last week, I know you were busy, but you were supposed to be there as well. You were invited to last weekend's event at KISS. I
Yeah.
personally called you and said, Mohammed, I would love you to be there.
Yeah.
So, I make sure that every year you are included in the celebrations
Yeah.
because you are our guest every year on Get Real with Shameeza, and it's only fair
Yeah.
that you are part of the celebration.
Yeah.
So
No, thank you
I
for that.
remember personally calling you and saying, hey, you need to be there.
We were actually in Brooklyn. We were doing voter education work in Brooklyn that day. We have our food justice work that we do in Flatbush, Brooklyn. Little Caribbean, we know Brooklyn, particularly Flatbush and Crown Heights, is known as Little Caribbean. And we were out there doing our food distribution, and we were registering people to vote. We were educating people on how to vote. And as part of our food distribution work, we also incorporate our civic engagement work. So I love that you consistently think of me. I appreciate you for that. That Saturday was just, it didn't work for my calendar because we were
Okay.
out in the community doing the
I
work.
know. I understand. So before we leave tonight, I have one final question for you.
Sure.
I know Caribbean Equality Project has been doing a lot of voter education work, like you said, in New York City. Can you tell us about the organization's Mash Up the Vote campaign?
Oh, I love that. Thank you. So the Caribbean Equality Project, so Mash Up the Vote is the Caribbean Equality Project's culturally responsive, nonpartisan voter education, political building campaign. And you might thinking that's a lot. What does that actually mean? Well, it means that this year the organization is continuing to organize hyperlocal civic engagement community events like our recent Little Guyana Votes, Ranked Choice Voting Resource Fair. We are doing Get Out the Vote phone banking and text banking. And this is to really mobilize Caribbean immigrants, Caribbean Americans, and LGBTQ people to vote and to encourage civic participation in this primary election and the general election that's going to happen in November. We have developed culturally responsive local voter guides. We're doing digital outreach through social media. We are doing door knocking. Actually, yesterday, Ramdat was in Richmond Hill knocking on people's door to remind them that a primary election is happening right now in New York City.
Remind me of the date,
Yes.
27.
Yes.
There we go.
So, yes, the
There
early
we go.
voting is happening right now. It is from June 17th to June 25th, and election day is Tuesday, June 27th. And the polls are open from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. If you don't know your poll site, just go to findmypollsite.vote.nyc. All you have to do is just type that in your computer, in your search bar, find mypollsite.vote.nyc. You enter your address, and it tells you exactly where you have to go vote.
Thank you so much. What's your final comment before we leave tonight? We'll start with Ramdat since we
Yes.
have him fully there right now. Let's make the most out of this.
My final thing is to make a plan and go vote. There's a lot of candidates out there. Go make your voice heard and elect the people that will, you know, impact our.
Ramdat said, impact our community the best. You know,
Yes.
I want to end with just saying that I appreciate you. I think this show is so important for our community, and representation matters. Not all representation is good representation, I'll say that much. But representation does matter. And this year, when we are celebrating so many intersections this month, we're celebrating Pride Month, we're celebrating Caribbean American Heritage Month, we just celebrated Juneteenth, and we have an opportunity to continue building political power in New York City by simply voting. So, for the folks in Guyana that are watching, just know that we're thinking of you and all sending all my love to all of my queer fans, my trans community members, particularly the folks at Guyana Trans United. Just know I love y'all and I see y'all. And for folks in New York City, I can't wait to see you all at Pride on June 25th. We are going to mash up the vote on June 27th. But before we vote, we're going to mash up Fifth Avenue at the NYC Pride Parade with the annual big truck.
Wow. Excited. Please send me videos and clips of that. And I'm sure we'll schedule out a date for June 2024. We will do that. And we'll
We
have the
will.
videos to be able to show to everyone.
Amazing. And I think, we just participated in Queen's Pride, and I think we're going to close with a highlight video from Queen's Pride. So
Yes,
before
we'll
we
get
go,
that video.
yeah, so before we go, Shameeza, thank you so much. I appreciate you. Continue to
My
be
pleasure.
strong and continue to stand proud and continue to resist those that are trying to take away your joy.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And we'll get that video up and running in just a few.
Project, baby! CEP! Happy Pride, happy Pride, make some noise, make some noise! Happy Pride! Queen's Pride, happy Pride!
Wow. I do want to take this opportunity to thank you and Ramdat for being here this evening. And I want to thank our viewers. Our viewers, thank you for your respect, your kindness, and your support for tonight's show. Thank you for all the love that you send us daily at Get Real with Shameeza. And tonight, more than ever, I thank you guys for your respect and kindness. I do want to end with a little something. It says this community has fought and continues to fight a war of acceptance, a war of tolerance and the most relentless bravery. You are the definition of courage. Do you know that? That's by Lady Gaga. Until next time, be courageous, be kind, and never let anyone tell you who you are. Good evening, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye, y'all.